January 1st, 2020. There will be no singing on the epilogue to the Black Hole Season 1. I have some very serious things to talk about. Namely, why I no longer work at the mine. And it's because of sexual harassment, which was basically sexual assault. On the night of June 13th, I was working on section, as you may recall, and we were tasked with loading the miner. So we pulled the scoop up near the miner, and the mining crew was helping load the miner, as well as us out by guys. One of the crew members, I was bending over to pick up a packet of bolts out of the scoop. He came up behind me, said, "Hey, we're going to let our hair down, have a good time tonight, right? Blah, blah, blah." And ran his hand up between my legs and hit my genitals. I jumped about 2 feet in the air and said, "Whoa, hey, what the heck, you know?" And I just tried to ignore it. I delivered those bolts to the miner. On my way back, the same guy was joking around the same way, saying, "We're letting our hair down. Hey, do you mind holding these?" He had 2 small packs of bolts, one in each hand. He asked me to hold them, so I fell for it, and I held both packets of bolts. He came right up in front of me and grabbed me by the genitals once again. I tried to ignore it. I took those bolts to the miner. I came back, started loading another packet of bolts, and as I was headed towards the miner, he was coming back. He grabbed me once again in the genitals, and then he did this one other time while we were passing before I began blocking his advances with my free hand. So I just ignored it. I'd been self-employed for 10 years, and I just ignored it that night. I didn't put it in the podcast. I didn't know what to make of it. And the more I got to thinking about it, it's a professional workplace. I was getting paid good money, and this was a pretty messed up situation. I waited until July when I was put back on that section. And the night of this sexual assault, a man about my age on the mining crew even looked at me and said at one point while we were loading the miner, "Hey, he's kind of handsy, isn't he?" So when I got back on that section in July, between June and July, the actor that assaulted me, we were going down the lift the one time together, and he looked at another miner and said, "Hey, I grabbed this guy by the balls. He jumped about 2 feet," and bragging about it in front of another miner, and he did this again in July. I was on the section again, the same section, and at the first half of the work shift, I was working with the guy that looked at me and said he's kind of handsy, joking around, trying to make light of it the night this happened. I was working with him, and I broached the subject while we were working together. I said, "Hey, did that guy ever grope you like he did to me that one night?" And he confirmed. He said, "Yeah, my first night he groped me." After lunch, I was working with another man who was older, been in the mines a long time, but he started the same day as me, and he had been consistently assigned to that section since he wasn't a red hat, getting moved around all the time. He'd been there for the 2 months that we'd been working there, going on 3 months, and I broached the subject with him. I asked him, did that guy ever grope you? And he said, "Yeah, but he's a good guy," kind of defending him, maybe because he was hazed when he started in the mines or something along those lines, because I guess that used to occur. But this was not really a hazing. This was more of a personal sexual assault. So after that occurrence in July, I decided that I should, since this is happening to other people, that I should report this to HR, which I did. I wrote an email. Said I didn't know how to report it exactly. The HR guy for the mine responded back that we'd have a meeting when we came back from vacation. I was on vacation at the time. The mine had the mandatory shutdown of 2 weeks in July, mandatory vacation. So before I came back from the mandatory vacation, mandatory shutdown, the HR guy called me and said, there's a corporate HR guy coming. We want to do an interview with you. So they asked me to come down 2 hours before shift, which I did. I was in a meeting room with the assistant mine supervisor and the two HR people. And they were going to enter things into the corporate HR guy's laptop. So they began asking me questions, and I said, before I give up any names involving this incident, I'm worried about retaliation from this guy for reporting him. What can you do to ensure that I won't be retaliated against? And I'm also worried about, because this guy has been here for several years, I'm worried about this other guys being like this and this happening to me again. What can you do to ensure that this doesn't happen to me again? The corporate HR guy pretty much responded, there's nothing we can do about retaliation until it happens. We can work through that after it happens. Which is kind of BS in my opinion. They could move me to the prep plant. They could obviously fire this guy. There's lots of steps they could take to ensure retaliation doesn't occur. But that was their response. They also said that they would keep it anonymous, say it was reported to us and not use my name in an effort to help with retaliation. So I got out of this meeting at 3, had to be down in the mine at 4. I got dressed, waited in the lamp room. Usually someone comes with an assignment, but on this day they didn't. I waited till 10 to 4 and I went to the mine, or the shift supervisor. I said, where are you putting me tonight? He said, I don't know. And as I started to walk away, he said, somewhere where you're not going to get your head bashed in, which I took as a threat. The shift foreman didn't want a tattletale on a shift. He knew that it had been reported already. Anonymity had been thrown out the window within an hour. I knew that by the end of the shift, all the shift supervisors, all the foremen would know about it, probably half of the mine, and by the next day the whole mine would know that I had reported this incident. So after I worked the shift, I went home and I drafted a resignation email and decided to resign. There's too many things in the mine that can be made to look like an accident, and to worry about someone retaliating, bashing my head in. This person, the actor, also had a brother that worked at the same mine, so I'd be watching my back for 2 people possibly retaliating against me, making it look like an accident. It just wasn't worth it to me after that happened to me. So afterwards, I did speak with a lawyer. He explained that I can file a federal complaint, basically, and it goes to mediation before you can actually full-blown take them to suit. It has to go through this federal process of mediation, which you can get restitution through this means. But unfortunately, the mine I worked at went bankrupt in October or November. I think it was October. So I doubt that anything will come of this. I'm happy I filed the complaint. so that this hopefully stops happening, because the mine is still operational even though it's bankrupt. Hopefully this stops happening to people, and I do kind of want to follow through with this for all the people out there that have been sexually harassed or sexually assaulted, that are signed into employment contracts and have to go to arbitration to see any type of action, and are signed into non-disclosure agreements and things of that nature. I'm not signed into any of that, so I kind of do want to pursue it to a certain extent, but I'm ready to chalk it up as a loss and move on with my life. So that leaves me with the question of, what do I do now? Because I was on track to make $100,000 a year working at that mine with the mandatory overtime. So what do you do to make that kind of money is the question. And ideally for me, people investing in me as an artist would be the ideal way for me to reach that goal. If I could sell my Mitch Miller paintings for $1,000 a piece and sell 100 a year, I'd be on track for that. That would be the ideal situation. But it's an investment, and it would take people believing in me and trusting that I have enough interesting ideas, and I would be able to manage my image in a way that would make the paintings appreciate in value. You may ask, what would I do with the money if I was making that kind of money? The first 10 paintings I sold would go towards the budget for the short film I pitched in episode 8 of this podcast. The short film that tries to address patent fraud and some other major issues in my screenplay. That's where the first 10 would go for that budget. But anything over that, I do have some ideas for some technology startups that I would use the additional funds raised by me selling paintings for. Just to give you an idea, one technology startup idea I had was I call it Zen 10. It's a online marketplace platform, kind of like eBay or Amazon, but the goal for Zen 10 is to promote recycling and fight planned obsolescence. So planned obsolescence, for those of you that don't know, is basically the idea that engineers design and redesign products, continue to change the design year after year or every 2 years, so that eventually when a product, say an appliance, breaks down after 5 years, you can't even buy replacement parts because the design has changed so much over those 5 years that you can no longer buy replacement parts and fix the product. Your only option is to buy a new appliance. It's planned obsolescence. A lot of United States corporations use it to promote selling more products. And this Zen 10 marketplace is geared towards fighting planned obsolescence. So the basic idea is we only sell products on Zen 10 that won't change their design. The manufacturers promise they won't change the design for 10 years. And there could be a customer feedback option on there where if it breaks after 2 years, the customer can give the manufacturer direct feedback. This sprocket broke, or this band broke, or this belt broke at this time. And the manufacturers can gather all that information, that feedback, and the ultimate goal is designing the perfect product, say a product that lasts 50 years. Imagine if you only had to buy one blender in your lifetime, or could outfit all your appliances and they would last 50 years. So that's kind of one of the goals of Zen 10. But there could be other options on the marketplace where manufacturers can sell replacement products directly, possibly where you could get in touch with a repairman or amateur repairman, where people might be able to fix the products, or tutorials or online videos that teach you how to go in and fix the item you purchased off Zen 10. So that's the basic idea. It's an online platform, online marketplace where manufacturers promise not to change the design of their product for 10 years, and you can buy these products online like eBay or Amazon. So that's just one tech startup idea I have. But if you want to invest in that, get a hold of me through my website or by painting, obviously. But I don't know if this would attract a legitimate investor in trying to launch that online platform. So I guess if my paintings won't sell, then I'll go back to being a house painter. The ideal situation for that, painters, depending on the area, charge $30 to $70 an hour for their services, and I figure I can be on track to make $100,000 a year if I charge $50 an hour. So this is within the range. I am a professional painter. I've been painting for 18 years. I've had a couple painting companies, but downgraded to just a single-man operation. So with the insurance, the retirement, the overhead, like insurance and things like that, and health care, to charge $50 an hour, I'd probably be making about $30 an hour, same as when I was in the mine. Also, I noticed through my experiences running businesses, I waste a lot of time, spend a lot of time, I guess, free, unpaid time doing estimates, driving out to the suburbs, spending an hour doing an estimate. So I think if I did it again, if I started a house painting business again and restarted, my business, I would charge for estimates. So if you don't mind paying around $50 an hour for a professional paint job, I'm looking mostly at interior work or low ranch style exterior work if possible. So call if you don't mind paying for an estimate. I will be on time. If I'm not on time, I will call and confirm that I'm running a bit late. So if you've ever had experiences with contractors where you can't get them to show up and they won't get back to you and things of that nature, well, part of the issue is they all offer free estimates, and sometimes they get tied up. A lot of times they get tied up, or they have enough work and they just don't want to do the legwork and do the communication to ensure that they get there on time for the estimate and do that. Even when I did free estimates, I always communicated, called, and tried to be on time for every estimate. So while I'm doing estimates or selling paintings, I've thought about a second season of this podcast. What I would like to do is go back to my hometown every once in a while, help my grandparents that live there. I grew up a block away from my grandparents on my dad's side. My dad and my uncles were raised in a small town, the town of Utica, Pennsylvania, and I was raised there. Wasn't born there because there's no hospital, but I was born in the town next to there where I went to high school, and raised in a small town, about 200 people in the whole town. There's a post office, general store. There used to be a small gas station. There used to be an elementary school, which is now a private elementary school, I think. just a small town in northwestern Pennsylvania. And I'd like to explain the dynamics of growing up in a small town like that, the families that inhabited that town. Obviously, I'd change the names to protect their identities, and go into some of my personal history and my experiences growing up in this small town. And also, I'd capture stories from my grandparents about their growing up and things of that nature, and kind of mix that in. Some of my grandmother's stories, maybe some of my grandfather's stories, things of that nature. So I think it would make a pretty interesting podcast. The Black Hole Season 2 probably won't start for 3 or 4 months, but that's ideally what I'd like to do. So I just want to thank you for all your support. I wanted to explain what exactly happened, why I'm no longer working in the mine, and for those of you that may have worried about me working in the mine, just let you know that I'm no longer employed in the mine. So again, thanks for listening. I hope you'll consider liking and sharing my podcast on your social media, or sharing my website with the links to the podcast. I put up a lot more links. I'm on like 5 or 6 different platforms. The links are at my website, www.plotm.com. That's PLOTM as in Mitch.com. Plot as in a book, M as in Mitch.com. I hope you'll visit, consider purchasing a painting or a piece of art, and like and share this with friends and family, and help me promote my podcast and my website. I greatly appreciate it. Stay tuned for next season. I think you can subscribe through different platforms so that you're notified when I post a new episode or the next season of episodes. Thank you very much, and take care of yourselves, and I guess that's it. This is Mitch Miller signing out for Season 1 of the Black Hole Podcast.